Hello, everyone. Welcome to Todd Talks. I'm Todd Kenreck. I am joined by James Haeck, our lead writer at D&D Beyond, and today we are talking, not shockingly, about warlocks. I love warlocks a lot. I love being up to all kinds of warlockian kind of nonsense. My main character is a warlock, and so I'm very excited to talk about them today. And we've got two new ones in Tasha's Cauldron of everything. We've got the Fathomless Warlock, and then we also have the Genie. So let's go ahead and jump into. By the way, how you doing, Joey?
Doing just fine. I'm excited to talk about the Fathomless first.
All right, let's talk about the Fathomless. So the Fathomless is interesting because initially this was kind of flavored in UA as kind of being the Kraken Warlock, and now they've kind of moved things around, and I think in a really fun way. You are now plunged into a pact with the deeps, an entity that's in the ocean, the elemental plane of water, or another otherworldly sea now. Otherworldly sea now allows you. Oh, interesting. I think there's a little bit of a mistype there.
No, it's an entity of the ocean, the elemental plane of water, or another otherworldly sea. Now allows you to draw
There,
upon
yeah,
its
there's
thalassic
we're missing a
power.
comma. Okay, well, interesting. We'll get that corrected. Is it merely using you to learn of the terrestrial realms, or does it want to open up the cosmic floodgates and drown the world? This is a very Cthulhu Lovecraftian kind of feel, not unlike the other otherworldly patron, the Great Old One patron, but this is more in that ocean theme. Perhaps you were born into a generational cult that venerates the Fathomless and its spawn, which makes it way more creepy. Or you might have been shipwrecked on the brink of drowning when your patron's grasp offered you a chance at life. I don't know who that makes me think of from Critical Role. Whatever the reason for your pact, the sea and its unknown depths call to you, entities of the deep. They might empower a warlock, including krakens, ancient water elementals, godlike hallucinations, dreamed into being by the Koatoa, which I love. That is a great patron because your patron's not even old. Your patron may have just come into being from pure faith. Merfolk, demigods, and sea hag covens. I love all these options.
I think this is a great expansion of the somewhat limited flavor of just the Kraken, being able to spread it out to all sort of deep sea eldritch powers. Even something as simple and frankly mundane as a sea hag coven is now a very strong option for a warlock pact. Imagine doing powerful things as a warlock and seeing that the coven that is granting you your deep sea power growing in strength alongside you.
I like the idea of a warlock who is perhaps smarter than all the Koatoa and realizes they're drawing power from this god that is not even real, that they have manifested. And what is what is that conversation with the Koatoa? Like, do you follow their orders? Do you follow their god's orders? Like, do you have to make sure you stay on all the Koatoa's good side to maintain your magical, your pact? It brings up a lot of interesting things, and it kind of reminds me of that weird, that it's the kind of a terrible trope in adventure movies where like, oh, this group thinks you're a god because of your technology or whatever. This is kind of like the reverse of that. You're beholden to this particular thing. Now, what I would do, just saying, I would con Koatoa into creating a god so you could become a warlock. That's funny. I may have to do a rewrite on someone's backstory. So let's go into the expanded spell list. Needless to say, there's a lot of really good story hooks here. The spell list has changed from Unearthed Arcana. We've got Create and Destroy Water, which makes a lot of sense. We've got Thunder Wave. We've got Gust of Wind at second level. We've got Silence, which is super creepy and appropriate. We've got Lightning Bolt at third. It's great to give that to any warlock. Sleet Storm, which is fantastic. Control Water. Summon Elemental, which is one of the new spells, and it scales with you now, and it's in Chapter 3 of Tasha's. And Bigby's Hand, except it's flavored as a big tentacle, and then Cone of Cold. Now, what's missing here is Everett's Black Tentacles. I understand it's not all tentacles all the time. There are a lot of tentacles involved in this particular warlock. I do appreciate that Big B's hand is now Big B's tentacle, essentially. I think that's a smart way of doing it and making it functional.
Yeah,
What do you think of this list?
This is a pretty strong list. I love anything that brings in the new summoning spells, and Summon Elemental is a really good one. Limiting it to water only is unfortunate, but thematic. So I can't take too much issue with that. Seeing things like Control Water is just a really good spell. One of the players in my current campaign has gotten pretty grand use out of it. Silence is a very cool one. A lot of good ways to flavor this one, I think. I can imagine creating an area that all people who try to speak within it just suddenly like have water pour out of their mouth instead of
Oh
sound. I mean, there's
God,
a lot of creepy ways you
no.
can play with this.
Just kelp comes out of their mouth.
Yeah. Oh, kelp. Oh, yes. Bigby's hand being flavored as a tentacle, even if you're getting away from the Kraken theme that was originally kind of omnipresent in this subclass, just like making it a sort of tentacle of water or a tentacle of kelp or something like that. It doesn't have to be a squiddly tentacle. It can just be kind of this arm that has been made out of sea-like detritus.
I want to say no to fog. Just because of the old John Carpenter film, which I love, The Fog, and just the notion of tentacle. Or if you think about The Mist, and the tentacles arriving out of that, I think there's some good creepy factor there that would, or maybe they already get. No, they don't. Warlocks don't get fog. So we've got Tentacles of the Deep. Run me through this one, because this is basically spiritual weapon for warlocks.
Yes. Sorry, which spell did you say? I didn't quite hear
you. The first level.
Oh, the Tentacle of the Deep's ability. Yes.
Yeah.
You can magically summon a spectral tentacle that strikes at your foes. As a bonus action, you create a 10-foot-long tentacle at a point you can see within 60 feet of you, and it lasts for a minute or until you use this feature to create another tentacle. This does seem very much like spiritual weapon right off the bat. When you create the tentacle, you can make a melee spell attack against one creature within 10 feet of it. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. When you reach 10th level in this class, the damage increases to 2d8. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the tentacle up to 30 feet and repeat the attack. You can summon the tentacle a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. We see this again in Tashas. And you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So yes, this is very similar to being able to cast Spiritual Weapon without spending a spell slot. But it is a little better.
It is.
And in some ways a little worse, because Spiritual Weapon scales quite well with higher casting spell slots, which is very easy for a warlock to do. And its damage doesn't increase quite so potently as you level up here. So it's kind of a trade-off. It doesn't cost a spell slot, but it's not quite as powerful.
Yeah, and that's usually what we see. We don't see, we don't see any class abilities scaling directly unless it's like sneak attack, and even then, it's not scaling too directly with like a spell effect if you're a spellcaster already.
Yeah.
That it does get powerful later, so bear that in mind. At also first level, and this is pretty simple, Gift of the Sea. You gain a swimming speed of 40 feet, and you can now breathe underwater.
Seems nice.
Seems nice. All
It
right,
would
we
be
got
weird to be a Fathomless Warlock and not have the ability to swim like the best of them.
They want you to hang with your baby Kraken patron, which I think that would be amazing. A stolen baby Kraken in a big vat, Maybe it needs your help to get it out of a zoo. I don't know.
Man, there's a juvenile Kraken stat blocking Ghost of Saltmarsh. This is a great
I'm
subclass for Ghost of. This is a great subclass for Ghost of Saltmarsh. I can see when this Kraken, this juvenile Kraken from that adventure becomes involved, you're actually meeting your patron face to face for the first time.
Yeah. There's some interesting. They can make it really interesting. What if it's this Baby Yoda almost effect, right? Like only Baby Yoda wants to destroy the universe. So, tell me about Oceanic Soul.
Oceanic Soul. It's your 6th level ability that says you are now even more at home in the depths. You gain resistance to cold damage, and in addition, when you are fully submerged, any creature that is also fully submerged can understand your speech, and you can understand theirs. It's like aquatic telepathy. Very cool. It doesn't specify submerged in water, though I would I would be hard pressed to allow it in other liquid for for a DM. Though, I don't know, maybe some kind of amniotic fluid as you're being birthed into some new Kraken-like being.
Ooh.
Allowing you to communicate with others of your new eldritch brood.
It is interesting. I mean, like, okay, it's great that you have, cold damage is fantastic to have, having resistance to it. I mean, can you not just put 2 cups of water over your ears to understand?
Fully submerged only.
I can see some silliness here. I've got to put my ear to a drum full of water so I can understand what you're saying. It gets kind of silly. Then at 6th level, we get Guardian Coil, and this is where the things get better. The Tentacle of the Deeps can now defend you and others, interposing itself between them and harm. When you or a creature you see takes damage while within 10 feet of the tentacle, you can use your action to choose one of those creatures and reduce the damage to that creature by 1d8. When you reach 10th level in this class, that damage is reduced by 2d8. Now, that's great. And you're not really sacrificing the tentacle as I'm reading this, are you? No, Tentacle's still around
for a full minute when you summon it, and this just burns your reaction to do so. I think that's fantastic. I don't think Warlocks, for the most part, have a lot of spells that use the reaction. I can think of Hellish Rebuke, and none others really spring to mind off the top of my head. This is quite a fun one.
Yeah, like, I mean, when you consider most Warlocks aren't typically using their bonus action unless it's to Hex, and Hex you should. Then again, if you're a Hexblade Warlock, you're a little bonus action heavy. You're getting the most out of your bonus action here in your reaction. So that's quite nice. So
now this 10th level feature is quite exciting to me, the grasping tentacles.
And this explains now why we don't see Everett's Black Tentacles.
You learn the spell Everett's Black Tentacles. It counts as a Warlock spell for you, but it doesn't count against a number of spells you know. You can also cast it once without spending a spell slot and regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. Also, whenever you cast a spell, your patron's magic bolsters you, granting a number of temporary hit points equal to your Warlock level. Moreover, damage can't break your concentration on this spell. Wow, so what an incredible power boost to an already not bad spell.
That's terrifying, right?
Like this is a mighty control tool that you have in your tool belt now.
Oh, man, now you're tanking.
Huh.
I mean, effectively, and you've got these tentacles. Now, it would be funny if the tentacles did not affect you, and you could walk amongst them. I think that would have been pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah, it's true. Everett's Black Tentacles doesn't discriminate between friend and foe.
Yeah. So if it allowed you to do that, I could see that being very OP, frankly, but that would have been quite fun. And the fact that your concentration cannot be broken is fantastic as well. So, now you're the best at Everett's Black Tentacles, which is what you want.
I think one of the good things about this feature is that it might obviate the need for a concentration bolstering feat like Warcaster or Resilient Constitution. Just because if you already have a feature that kind of makes your concentration unbreakable for one spell, you might choose to build your entire character around not having concentration spells except for this one for the most part, and then just not worrying about losing concentration ever.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And then, yeah, absolutely. And there's also another ability, I believe, an invocation that allows you to have advantage on any kinds of concentration.
You're absolutely right.
Well. So don't really need it here. And that leads us to the final thing, Fathomless Plunge. And it's very interestingly worded. The Fathomless Plunge. Oh, I lost my place because I moved my screen. 1 second. Fathomless Plunge allows you to do the big thing. You magically open a temporary conduit to the watery destination. As an action, you can teleport yourself and up to 5 other willing creatures that you see within 30 feet of you amid a whirl of tentacles. You all vanish and then reappear 1 mile away in a body of water you've seen, pond size or larger, or within 30 feet of it, each of you appearing in an unoccupied space within 30 feet of each other. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Now, this used to be a twofold ability in Unearthed Arcana. You could teleport, and you could also bludgeon everyone around you. I think they sensed, okay, there are quite a few tentacles here. You have Everett's Black Tentacles, the ultimate form. You've got your own individual tentacle. You don't have this big ravenous maw anymore. But I think it works. I think this is a nice little get out of jail free card real quick. It does require water, though. But wait, do you have to be... No, you don't have to be near water. You have to go to... You just need to be aware of a body of water around you. So this is not limited in that, because that would have been not so fantastic.
Yeah. So. I always get these spells confused. Tree Stride and Transport via Plants. I can't remember which one is the more powerful and which one is it. It's the one that Keyleth uses all the time in campaign 1 of Critical Role. But there's a druid spell that allows you to just kind of open up a portal in a tree and walk through and appear in any other tree. And this one isn't quite as powerful as that. It can only take you up to a mile away, but I think if I had a Fathomless Warlock in my campaign, I would allow them to power up this ability by spending one of their spell slots to vastly increase the number of miles they could transport to water. Like if they were shipwrecked and wanted to get to the coast they were trying to go to anyway, I would say, yeah, go ahead and spend a spell slot, and then boom, they travel 100 miles across the ocean and appear in that port instead.
Yeah, that's interesting. I also maybe it'd be nice to kind of circumvent, like, you just sense where bodies of water are. I don't, you know what I mean? It would be kind of nice. And could lead to some interesting hijinks. What if there's an underground lake underneath a castle that you need to get to? You know, that kind of stuff.
I love that, because it does have to be a body of water that you've seen, and it does have to be a significant one. It can't just be like a puddle.
Yeah.
So like if you...
Which hilarious though.
but like the applications for this are immense. If you create like a scrying pool in your home base, right? And you make it large enough, this scrying pool now also serves as like a teleportation pad that you can recall to in your home base as long as you're not too far from it.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of a teleportation circle that is permanent for you. But yeah, it's decent. I do miss having like the whole Kraken basically appear on your behalf. I'm not gonna lie.
This 1 mile limitation does change the utility of this a lot, because I'm having a hard time breaking my mind away from the sort of very big scale transport that Transport via Plants lets you do, as opposed to this basically just being kind of like a catch-all, like you called it, get out of jail free card. You're in a bad spot in combat. You just want to get away from the guys that are fighting you. You go to any watery destination you've seen within a mile. This isn't an exploration spell. This is a, oh crap, we're in over our heads spell.
Yeah, agreed.
Or feature, not spell, but you know what I mean.
Correct. And we got a few questions about the Fathomless in chat. Question: would you classify a pond-sized body of water for the Fathomless plunge ability? I would say 3 wagons.
I wonder if there's
surface area.
I wonder if there's an actual definition on what a pond is.
Because you do have ponds in your backyard, right? Like sometimes people will have that much property, right? And install a pond. Is that like a proper pond, or is that a puddle?
Now, I'm not an aquatic expert, but a quick technical definition of pond is that, one, the technical distinction between a lake and a pond has not been universally standardized. But the formal definition of a pond is a body of water where light can penetrate to its bottom.
Oh.
So the entire pond is in what they call the photic zone, where light can hit the bottom. So as long as light doesn't penetrate to the bottom of this thing, it is greater than a pond.
Okay, well, I
But
mean,
but this is not a science fiction game. This is a fantasy game. This pond size is just to keep you from teleporting into puddles. This
yeah,
is purely up to the DM and how they want to describe a pond.
yeah, and like, well, I mean, do we feel like a well is a pond? I mean, how horrifying is that to be like popping out of wells here and there? So we got another question, and also I should say while I'm answering these questions, um, we're actually giving away a copy of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything right now in Twitch chat. So our moderators are standing by to tell you how you can possibly win Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So
Yes, get that book. I love Tasha's Cauldron a lot.
it really is.
Yeah.
It's hard not to fall in love with it. Question: with the tentacle version of Mage Hand, can it double Mage Hand? With the tentacle version of Mage Hand, I don't know how that really connects.
So this is Bigby's hand, just so
I
you
see
know,
what you're
not
saying.
Mage Hand, but
Yeah,
Bigby's hand.
Bigby's hand.
I'm still not exactly sure what this question means when it says can it double.
I think they're asking if Mage Hand can also be a tentacle. I would say I would just flavor your Mage Hand as a tentacle, and I think your DM is going to be fine with that. Yeah.
I don't think that any change to flavor is ever an overpowering thing.
No, I think it's really fun. So, I mean, this was a rare case where they actually tell you the flavor of the spell when you cast it, very specifically. Because I felt like on some level, people will see Bigby's hand and not get it. So I think I understand why they said, but it's a tentacle. Yeah, just so you know. So you're not confused. There's not like a Kraken with one hand, which is very upsetting, running around out there. So I cannot fathom how this subclass cannot be creepy. Is there a way not to make it that way? A beautiful, cute little baby Kraken that needs you to save it, and everyone thinks that the baby Kraken is actually going to end up being evil, but you have decided that it's not, and that maybe you're a Fathomless Warlock, and you're also there with a Paladin Oath of Redemption, and your job is to save this baby in a very Mandalorian way.
Or we think of the deep sea as being a terrifying place a lot of the time, but it doesn't have to be. What if your fathomless patron is Ongajuk, the telepathic whale from Icewind Dale: Rime of the Frost Maiden?
Right.
You instead of being granted power from a horrid Kraken or Sea Hag Coven, you've been granted power by a magical happy whale. And instead of your tentacles being disgusting octopodal things, they're big whale flippers that you summon from an extra dimensional water portal, or they're arms that you craft out of water, sort of waterbending style. This doesn't have to be creepy. It certainly lends itself well to creep.
Yeah.
But the depths are the limit when it comes to your imagination here.
And do understand, like, octopus on Earth are amongst the most intelligent animals in the world, by far, the most adaptable. They can change their shape, all kinds of things. And they have formed relationships with human beings. There's actually a really great documentary about this fact. So there's nothing that has to be insidious about a giant octopus being your patron.
Yeah, that's true. I can imagine a giant misunderstood octopus that people always think is evil, but you have actually learned is your best pal, and maybe this octopus like sort of forms a backpack around you, and it just kind of walks around with you all the time. Yeah, no, this could be very cute. I see.
Well, that's amazing. I was thinking of a giant, octopus.
Oh, a really giant octopus.
Octopi that exists underneath the water that many krakens are their mortal enemies. And it's very misunderstood.
Classic squid versus octopus rivalry,
which is real, which is some real stuff. So, question: what's the best way to go about making a pool of water to teleport to? Any spell that would create water.
Yeah, so get your cleric to cast Mold Earth or something like that, and then create water in the pool. Easy peasy.
Which is hilarious because that is good ahead planning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, especially if you're just like, oh, hey, you guys don't mind if we just dig a pool in this dungeon that we need to get to later. There's some weird chicanery stuff we can do.
Yeah.
And then that's it for the fathomless questions. We'll go ahead and move on to the Genie.
Wow, wait,
And-
before we move on, I can see
Oh,
some
yeah.
actually really dark stuff happening with Fathomless Plunge. Like, it requires a willing creature, but imagine you dupe someone into being like,
Oh.
I will take you, I'll get you out of here, I'll get you to safety, but you're actually trying to assassinate them or something, and you just plunge them straight into this pool that you've created where you drown them horribly. Oh my god, yes, this could get very dark if you allow it to.
All right, no more. I don't know what you're watching right now, man.
I'm playing some Assassin's Creed, in case you're wondering.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of that Assassin's Creed's poking out right now.
Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is available now on D&D Beyond. Purchase before January 5th to unlock the Cauldron dice set, as well as character sheet backdrops, themes and frames.